Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul. I'm just going to walk you through a quick video on foreign policy and Justin Trudeau. Now, a few things have never been really kind of discussed with Justin Trudeau in terms of the conditions where citizenship has been revoked or where the government actually has used between the criminal code and just the immigration laws to kind of look at things in terms of how they can basically revoke somebody's citizenship. Now, this isn't talking about people born in this country. This is talking about people that immigrate to this country and basically file for citizenship to become a Canadian citizen. So what basically the criminal code, as part of looking at the immigration things, is to kind of look at options how we can revoke these people. Well, you're seeing on the screen here, the government actually has followed through with a process with a guy that was guilty of crimes in Serbia. And so basically he came here on false pretenses, okay? So they were able to, beyond after they found out about this guy, able to revoke his citizenship. Now, there's other examples over history, in the Nazi war criminals too, as well, that we found over the years. We were able to also revoke any of those ones too, as well, that had citizenship issues. So Justin Trudeau's not being truthful to you. There are options under the criminal code and under existing immigration laws that allows us to revoke citizenship under certain conditions. Now, that seems to me he's missed that out when he's had any discussion of foreign policy. Why? Because typically with Justin Trudeau, he's pandering for votes. He's really pandering for the Islamic vote as a way to basically say he's championing something. Let's look at some comments too, or not becoming of a leader. A leader is always going to be looked at things and doesn't necessarily mean he's going to always make the right decisions, but he needs to be appropriate when he's talking foreign policy. We live in a world that's forever changing. This world's forever changing for whatever reason, whether it's political views from country or autocratic societies, human rights violation. And you're more welcome to go out and take a look at some of these countries like Algeria, Syria, all these other countries that have autocratic governments and what they've been like to their people over the years in terms of human rights. Stephen Harper's always stood up for human rights. He's been a statesman of the year. He supports the needs to protect people's lives, okay? So I don't know why Justin Trudeau seems to back away from anything to do with human rights. He seems to be more on emotion and less on facts. And here's some comments. He thought the best way to solve ISIS issues was drop winter coats to them. Well, ISIS is not an organization that you're going to be able to negotiate with. You can't just put peacekeepers on the ground. This isn't where we've gone to Bosnia-Herzegovina, where the Muslims and the Serbs and the Croats were all different parts of the city and you were patrolling it to keep the peace. There is no peace to keep because there's no peace treaty. So peacekeepers can only come and play if there's a peacekeeping treaty. We don't have that in some of these countries. Second point he made is it shows disrespect for the Canadian military, where he said we shouldn't whip out their CF-18s to show them how big they are. Well, again, that's not an appropriate comment in terms of supporting the military or supporting action against ISIS. He also said we should focus strictly on humanitarian aid. Well, first of all, we could ship $20 million worth of food and supplies to northern Syria and get it to Aleppo. It likely will never get to the people because groups like ISIS will take the food and still make their people starve because they're trying to make political statements and political way with people, because it's all about emotion. The more you show the tragedy of people, the more and more you get emotion against government being involved. He also brought up U.S.-Canada relationships, the strained relationship between Obama and Stephen Harper. Well, that has nothing to do with Stephen Harper. It has to do with the pro-green agenda that Barack Obama has changed over the last 3 or 4 years. And if you want to check out Obama, go check out his Ties to Tides Foundation. He's tied to that, and that Tide Foundation is a big proponent of shutting down the oil sands issue, and that's why they're really pushing the pipeline, stopping the pipelines. Yet, Obama says done very little in terms of moving oil by rail. Why? Well, that's tied to Buffett. Warren Buffett's the one that's making a ton of money off of oil shipments. Let's talk about his foreign policy advisors. One of the big ones is Omar Al-Hagra. He used to be a former MP. He's tied back to Saudi Arabia roots. So his belief, and you can check it out here as well, is you can do a Google search on it. He is tied back to the belief of Sharia law. And Sharia law is a pretty dangerous thing if you want to do some more research about it, because it allows almost distinct societies in here in terms of how they can operate. And it's very dangerous precedent to set here, and you can go see what's happened in the UK with that. Let's talk about Sacha Trudeau. Sacha Trudeau is a filmmaker. He's made movies on Palestine. He's made movies on Iran. Now, there's nothing wrong with making documentaries. Everybody's entitled to that. The problem that you got to watch with him is his documentaries one-sided? Did he get all views of the perspective? Sacha Trudeau typically has only got one agenda. He seems to be pushing certain beliefs in the Middle East, not other beliefs in terms of things. Am I saying Israel's a saint? No, they're not. But we still need to respect all countries, including Israel. Hezbollah, which is one of the big issues in Palestine, will use human people as footmarks. So they'll make sure that people are in hospitals with human shields. So they'll make sure people are available in those areas, so that when they do bombing attacks or carry out attacks against Israel, that they're trying to protect these people. And people need to do some research on how some of these groups operate. Let's talk about Justin Trudeau in general. Okay, he supports C-51, but the goal of what he supports it with is he's going to revisit it. Now, here's the key things that you want to watch out for. When we had the shooter come into the Parliament Hill last year, basically Trudeau's first statement was reaching a handle to the Islamic community. Now, that's fine, you can do that, but that disrespects also to the event that would happen to the poor soldier that died. He was unarmed and he was shot dead. So why wouldn't you put more respect to that soldier? It seems to me Justin Trudeau does anything and pander for votes, regardless of whether or not the scenario is right or wrong. He also said very little on the Charlie Hebdo attack, which was a Muslim attack. So being a statesman means you got to make some decisions and stand up for your country and the world. Justin Trudeau doesn't seem to have that skill set to stand up for anything other than pander for votes. So it's nice to sit back here and say Canada shouldn't be doing things. Canada's a role to play. It's never been a country that sits back in the back burner. If a country asks for military help, and we've done this before with training police officers in Haiti, or gone to Iraq for help, we do that. That's the way Canada operates, right? And in the case of the ISIS thing, yes, it's not a NATO sanction. However, Iraq asked for help. So is Justin Trudeau going to turn around and say to Iraq, not my issue because NATO or UN's not involved? So is he going to turn a blind eye to all these atrocities where you see human rights violation? That's the questions you need to ask yourself. Because in a roundabout way, if you want a leader, the leader has to go beyond just playing the political pandering and look at what's right to do. Stephen Harper has had a lot of knocks, and one thing he hasn't been given enough credit on, he is a statesman. He's well respected around the world. The Ukrainians like him. Australia likes him. Okay, you probably can go in the UK and like him. I'm sure Angela Merkel has good words to say about him. You're seeing the postings here. But you're not going to hear that, because anything that shows Stephen Harper in a good light, the Liberal parties don't want to see that. And the other thing you should bear in mind too is you can go out and do a search. Go do a search on Andrew Leslie. He's a Liberal, maybe the next Defense Department manager, right? He's a former colonel that served in Afghanistan. He was on Party and Politics a few months back, and he spoke about the refugee status. Okay, so this whole refugee issue in Syria has been going on for 15 months. Why is it an issue now? It's an election. So that's what you have to ask yourself, is who's really going to stand up for foreign policies? Not just Canada, but support the world. You're not going to get that either with Mulcair or Justin Trudeau. The guy that's going to do the most in terms of a statesman is Stephen Harper.